Hello, what is up guys? EvilDuoStorm here today, back with another Black Desert video. Today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Nova Awakening, which just went live a few days ago, so it'll be my first impressions of the class, how I feel about it. We'll also take a look at some combos and sequences you're going to want to know, so things that apply to different buffs that are built into the kit, as well as some nice animation cancels that you can run between both the pre-awakening and awakening stance. And I'll give you a few awakening combos that I found to be pretty solid right now. Do note that because this class did just literally come out, these probably aren't going to be the only combos. They're definitely not going to be. And there's a lot more you can do, but these combos that you'll see in here will be your basis as you build other combos because they do flow so well together. With that disclaimer out of the way, and quickly before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, new to Black Desert, or you've been watching the videos on the channel and still have not subscribed yet, please consider it. Helps to grow my channel. You'll stay up to date when new content like this does come out. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started and let's talk about your skills. So this video will be primarily centered around the awakening skills. I already have a video on my channel going over all of the pre-awakening skills and mechanics, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse here and do the same video twice. That being said, there's also going to be a spreadsheet in the description below that also has every single skill, as well as the majority of the combos that you're going to see in this video, all typed out, what they do, damage totals, protections, crits, cooldowns, all that important information right here for you, because that's the kind of guy I am. Anyway, with that being said, pretty much every single skill in the awakening tree is really important, and you're going to want to pick them all up. But fortunately, if you're not interested in doing tons of PvP content, you don't have to go too crazy in the main tree here. You just basically got to pick up this final command skill, Command Blooming Icy Thorns. So this skill is super awesome because it allows you to stance swap immediately from Awakening back into your pre-Awakening. Also, picking up the Past Pawn isn't too bad of an idea either, because it guaranteed procs off of this ability, which I'll show you here in a second when we talk about transitions. If you're going to do some PvP content, you're going to have to pick up additional skills in here, but just as a general beginner's little startup here, that's all you need. So looking back at the Awakening tab here again, we're going to ultimately use just about every single skill in this menu in different combos and rotations that I'm going to show you, so I'll address each skill when we get to it and why we're using it. But just a couple of skills to cover in general. We have the Onguard Buff as well as the Combust Life Buff. So the Onguard Buff is a unique mechanic to this class entirely. If you look at your UI in the top left corner, or if you have a custom UI, it'll be underneath by your health bar, you will see the second resource bar right here. It is called Star's Breath. This bar is filled up as you use different skills. So when this bar is reached 100%, you can press the E key on the keyboard to consume it and enter the On-Guard state. So your little meter is going to decay while you're in it. And in the On-Guard state, all of your abilities attack much faster and have completely different effects, well, relatively different effects. So you can see the On-Guard buff effects when you look at any skill in the menu right here. So just for example, Royal Fencing gains additional damage while you're using it. Now during On Guard, some skills also have different effects. So for example, if I pop the E buff right now, the dash ability gets no cooldown on it, so you can use the dashing ability more frequently, although it's not any quicker than you really would normally be able to. Also, your shifty ability will recover health instead of consuming health. So we did just mention the shifty ability. It is the Combust Life ability, and you can see during the normal effect, it consumes 1000 HP to recover 50% of that meter, as well as provide you an AP buff for 30 seconds. And when you're in the On-Guard state already, it will recover your HP by 500, as well as provide you with the same effect. The On-Guard ability also provides you super armor for 10 seconds after activating the skill. And I think that'll do it for the different buffs, so now let's just start getting into some generic combos, and we're going to start off with movement abilities. I'm not going to lie to you, this class is insanely mobile. Check out this clip right here of me racing my Musa. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of screwed up a little bit on the movement with the Nova. So yeah, it moves really quickly. Anyway, to be able to move like that, you're gonna need a few skills. So if we open up the skill menu, the first one is Break Orbit followed by Twisted Orbit. These two skills chain after each other. They will comprise the bulk of your movement. The first time that the Twisted Orbit ability is cast, it is super armored, and Break Orbit will be super armored every single time that you use it. So Twisted Orbit is the LMB following the Shift plus Directional key. So in order to do this initial bit of combo action right here, you're going to need to press Shift W, which will give you the first dash with the Break Orbit ability. So that is Shift W. And at the end of that Shift W, you're going to let go of Shift, continue to hold down W, and left click. So that will do that. So once again, boom, just like that. So that is the first portion of the combo there for movement, and you can actually just infinitely chain that if you want. So you're going to Shift L, Shift L, Shift L. So you can run that for a good amount of time. I got caught on that scarecrow there, and it was unable to continue moving forward. Now you can also add the ability Comet in the middle of one of these after one of the LMBs if you would like. So that is W plus F. So once again, to show you this combo, Shift L, and then at the end of the Shift L, you can push F. So Shift L F. The F ability has a 5-second cooldown, so once that cooldown is up, Shift L F. You can then chain another Shift L and B after that, so you can go Shift L F, Shift L, and cover even more distance. And if you're concerned about protection, you can use the ability Swooping Ring 4. So this provides you a super armor during the skill, but it does have a significant cooldown of 8 seconds. It also does a nice AoE damage at the end, so it's probably a good ability to use at the end of your little bit of dashing. So just to put everything we've talked about here together into one little combo here. So yeah, it covers a lot of distance pretty quickly and ends on a nice little AoE ability. And that's probably enough information on movement to get you going here. Once again, this is just beginners trying to get you started with the most important things you need to know. Just want to really point out and really stress that Twisted Orbit does not give you super armor if you spam cast it like you saw me doing right there. So with movement out of the way, the next thing we're going to take a look at are actual damaging skills, and to help make this easier to digest, we're going to break them into unique little categories here. We're going to have our little buff rotation of melee skills, and then we'll take a look at some of the more bigger nuke type skills we can use at the end of this little buff rotation to increase our damage or to do most of our damage. So with that being said, the first 3 skills are going to be the little buff rotation that you're going to want to put into just about every single combo. And those are going to consist of Riposte, Fleche, and Remise. Did I pronounce this one right? Probably not. But anyway, these 3 skills are very unique in the fact that they provide you different buffs. So Riposte provides you a 20 AP buff for 5 seconds. This one that I can't pronounce provides you an attack speed buff of 15%, or rather casting speed. And the Remise ability provides you a 20 DP reduction on whatever you hit with this ability. These 3 skills are your buffs, or I guess debuff in the case of Remise, and will be used in just about every combo. The awesome thing about these 2 is that they can be used for like half a second and cancel each other out, and then you can get into a main DPS rotation. And even more awesome still is that the Riposte ability takes you out of the shield stance. So if I go ahead and break out my shield, and if I press SQ, it will bring me out of the shield stance and into the rapier stance. So right back into it, plus it provides you the 20 AP buff. Now because Riposte can be used to transition from your pre-awakening to your awakening, the order of these 3 skills is going to change a few times, but generally speaking, I like to start off with the Fleche ability for the 15% casting speed increase, followed by the AP buff that you get from Riposte, and finally the DP reduction from Remise. But if you're transitioning from another skill or trying to animation cancel, you can use the Riposte ability first and then transition to the attack speed buff from Fleche, and then the damage from Remise. And once again, we can cancel Fleche with Riposte, so we can cancel those 2 skills hella quick and move into the Remise ability. So it's really quite simple. It's going to be SF, SQ, SL, and B. And that base unit will be in just about every single one of your skill rotations, unless you're transitioning from the shield. So if I go ahead and break out my shield, in this case, it'll be SQ, SF, SL, and B. And that's going to do it for our little buff rotation of skills that we can run in just about every single combo. Now we're going to take a look at some of our nukes that we can throw into these rotations anywhere we want. And the first combo is going to be Starfall into Star's Call. This combo rotation goes a lot faster than the other way around, so you're going to want to go Starfall into Star's Call. It flows much, much better. The other cool thing about these 2 abilities is they do attack from range, so if you're a little bit away from the mobs or the pack, you can lead off with this little combo and then following it up with like Swooping Ring in order to get into the group and do even more damage. Or Comet if you want to dash into it, or even Royal Fencing Lunge if you wanted to go forward with one of those abilities. Also, because the Fleche ability provides you a casting speed buff regardless of whether or not you hit anything, you can cast this at the start of the rotation to make these skills go insanely fast. So just to give you an example demo of this, if we press the SF ability without hitting anything, you can see we get a casting speed buff. So we can do SF into Shift RMB, into Shift LMB, into WRMB. So that'll do some damage at range and then ultimately gap close and do damage. Now if you wanted to stay entirely at range for this little combination here, you could use the ability Frozen Ring instead of Swooping Ring to go in. So Frozen Ring is another AoE ability that is ranged and does a really solid amount of damage. So just to show you that little combination of skill options that you have there, we can go SF into Shift RMB, into Shift LMB, into Shift Q. Now once you do enter melee range, whether you decide to dash in after one of those engages or if you've just found yourself at melee range anyway, and you've already burned through that initial buff combo of using the Fleche ability into Riposte, into Remise, you have a few more melee range DPS options in addition to just using the Starfall Star's Call as well, since that works at melee range too. The first major one is the Slicing Ring ability. This is Q, and then once again we have Frozen Ring, which we also used a few seconds ago. So Q and Shift Q. So just to give you an example of what a combo like that might look like, we come up to an enemy, we go SF, SQ, SLMB, Q, Shift Q. So something simple like that. You can really do any permutation or combination of those that you want. In fact, if you wanted to extend this even further, you could throw in the Shift RMB and LMB skills. So if we just go ahead and SF, SQ, SLMB, Q, Shift Q, Shift RMB, Shift LMB, you could run through the entire gamut of skills there. You then have other filler DPS skills you can throw in, like Royal Fencing Lunge, which is just an F. Or if you wanted to, you could hit WRMB as well and get the big old AoE slash for good amounts of damage using the Swooping Ring ability. And if you're really feeling crazy and wanted to go on forever and just chain through your skills for literally ever, you could use the ability Shift F. So this is Command Blooming Icy Thorns, and this instantly transitions you from Awakening to Pre-Awakening. So just to show you how that works, if I do like SF, SQ, SLMB, Q, Shift Q, and then I hit Shift F, transitions immediately into the Pre-Awakening stance, and also applies the defense down debuff from the past pawns. So this normally wouldn't do it since you don't have your pawns and everything summoned, but when you use it as the instant transition, it does apply this defense down debuff, which is pretty darn cool. You can get a nutty amount of defense down on a target with those. And this crazy amount of defense down is possible because both defense down debuffs do apply. So if I go ahead and fight this guy right here, SF, SQ, SLMB, Shift F, you can see that I get the defense down from the past pawns as well as the defense down from SLMB on the Scarecrow target here. And I do believe that leaves me with one ability that I haven't talked about yet, and that is Star's Ring. This is a pretty neat little ability that groups up enemy targets, and it is also a ranged ability. So you can use this in multiple scenarios. First one is like if you're doing like a normal DPS combo here, and then you hit Shift RMB, and then you hold down RMB, and you can see that there's these stars that have spawned. So if this was like a normal PvE area, those guys would be getting pulled to it. You can then call back the stars by hitting SRMB. So that is the Fuse Gravity ability, so back RMB. What this does is it will recover 10% of the star's breath, aka your ultimate meter, when you do that. So if I just use my Onguard ability here and burn through this, you can see that my star's breath is pretty much gone here, down to 1%. So if I go ahead and use like Shift RMB and then hold down RMB, I will spawn these little dark stars out in the distance here. I can then hit SRMB to recover that energy. So right there, I drew back in 2 stars and got 20% energy back. Or 20% of my ultimate meter, rather. But once again, that ability is ranged, so if you wanted to use that ability at range and do something like Shift RMB, Shift LMB, and then hold down RMB to launch out the stars, I guess it didn't really help too much since I walked forward, but you get the idea. You can then throw it forward and pull it back, and boom, get another 30% back from that because I summoned 3 stars that time. So it's basically a fast way to build up that ultimate meter. It does have a 10-second cooldown between this cast and recast ability, but it is something to throw into your combos if you want to keep entering that on-guard stance even more frequently. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for this video. So once again, all of the different combinations and rotations and stuff that you saw here are all listed here. It's got the skills name, it's got the buttons on the keyboard, mouse and keyboard. If you're on console, I'm sure you can figure out how to translate these keystrokes into your button presses. If you want a copy of the sheet so you can edit it for any different reason, I have all the different skills and their multipliers and crits and cooldowns and everything. So if you want to build your own combos, all you gotta do is hit File, make a copy, and you can just start copy pasting. If I do this ability plus this ability and just keep adding it on down here, it's a pretty straightforward system to use. It's how I built all these combos, just looking through the different things there. Anyway, that's attached description down below. But yeah, in summary, I think the Nova's a pretty darn fun class. Definitely going to be high action per minute, that's for sure. I'm never really a big fan of the classes where you need to hit the S key to do the ability. So I don't know how much I'm going to like it going forward, but still seems like a lot of fun. Love the playstyle of it. Love the mobility. Feels like a really, really fun class to me. Anyway, guys, if this video is going to help you here to progress on your Nova, learn your Nova skills, do let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you're not subscribed already, please consider it. Once again, it helps to grow my channel. Really pushing for that 100K. Would love to hit it this year. But yeah, up to you. I'm not your dad. You do you, man. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you at the next live stream over on Twitch, next YouTube video right here, or wherever I happen to see you. Peace.